Hey everybody, it's Party Lead here with another episode of Total Breakdown. This time we're going to see Riggsen lead the Skaven of Clan Pestilence in battle against the Dark Elves of Draren. We begin of course with talk of composition and deployment, and as you can sort of see, it's a bit of a quantity versus quality situation over here. Let's begin with quantity. Lord Skrolk is in charge of the Skaven, and he's brought with him plenty of slaves. You can see we've got 4 units of Skaven slaves up front, then we've got 5 units of Skaven slave slingers ready to fire away with some ranged support as soon as possible. We also have these plague monks back here and over here, and then the Stormbringer with sword and shield forming what could be called the actual front line, and then right behind them we do have rat ogres on either flank, as well as these plague monk sensor bearers bringing in some decent armor piercing capabilities as well as some magical damage. All the way at the back, meanwhile, we have these Skaven slave spears protecting this unit of warp lightning cannons, as well as this doom wheel back here, and these guys are of course armor piercing and anti-large or anti-infantry, and we have magical damage back there as well. Now, the reason why I mention magical damage so much is because it is very important to bring that type of damage against an army such as the Dark Elves, who can field plenty of physically resistant units as they have done today. So as the Warp Lightning Cannon there is getting some initial shots off, let's take a look at the Dark Elves. Malekith is in charge. Up front he has a pair of Dread Spears, and right behind them you can see we've got 4 units of Sisters of Slaughter. Again, physically resistant, they're able to dive in and cause a lot of damage. 2 more Dread Spears back here, again capping off and providing some anti-large capabilities, while in the middle we have the Sisters of the Singing Doom, again able to push through that middle and cause as much damage as possible. Then on either flank, these Dark Riders with repeater crossbows will provide some range support, while to the back here we have the Cold One Knights, anti-large and armor piercing, and the Doomfire Warlocks. Once more, a little bit of physical resistance over there, and these guys also cause magical damage. So you can see right now the Warp Lightning Cannon already firing away, hoping to get some damage in as these units slowly make their approach. And unfortunately, the Warp Lightning Cannon did get some good shots to begin with, killing just 4 of these Dread Spears, but immediately after that, it begins to flub its shots, and you'll see it gets very unlucky, firing away, trying to get some damage in. You'll see we've got 4 dead Dread Spears over here, but apart from that, that Warp Lightning Cannon is just not having a good time. In come some more shots just shortly, this time focusing in on these Doomfire Warlocks, hoping to get some damage into, again, a threatening, physically resistant unit, but just completely missing. No luck over there, and then switching over to the Sisters of Slaughter, but unfortunately missing there as well. Not even able to hit the Sisters of the Singing Doom that are slowly marching forward right behind them as well. But the Warp Lightning Cannon doesn't give up. Obviously, it's going to keep firing away with little luck, unfortunately. The dice gods are not in favor of the Warp Lightning Cannon right now, and you can see the Dark Elves very coolly and calmly pushing forward towards the Skaven. And over here, I think the Skaven slaves may be tempted to intercept the Cold One Knights, ultimately deciding not to, and as the Sisters of Slaughter are getting closer and closer, you can see we actually have these Skaven slave slingers pushing forward to get some shots in. At the same time, the Warp Lightning Cannon finally manages to get some damage done to the Cold One Knights over here on the right flank. So finally getting a couple more kills in there, literally just 2 more dead Dark Elves right now, thanks to the Warp Lightning Cannon, but hopefully it's about to start performing a little bit better than it has been for the last little while. Back here, meanwhile, you can see again these Skaven Slave Slingers just ready to fire away now, and again, even though the Sisters of Slaughter are physically resistant, the quantity of fire coming in can make a fair bit of difference. You can see we've got 2 units ganging up on these Sisters of Slaughter and 2 ganging up on these, but the charges are about to go down. We have these Skaven Slaves to the left over here, getting a counter charge in there, but it's going to do very little to help them with a charge bonus of just 5. You can see they're more or less melting away. The Sisters of Slaughter do not care about these lowly Skaven slaves. They're just completely cutting right through them, and same goes for the center over here as well. As you can see, we've got these charges going through. The Skaven slaves over here don't even bother with the counter charge. A couple of shots coming in from these Skaven Slave Slingers, but ultimately you'll see more or less immediately these Skaven Slaves start to melt away, already down by about 25% of their hit points over here as well. You can see the Skaven Slave Slingers pull back into safety as these Plague Monks push forward to assist, and we've got these Plague Monks pushing forward over here, as well as the Stormbringer with Sword and Shield and Lord Skrolk. Again, a lot of magical damage on the field, hoping to get some assistance in there. The Plague Monks aren't going to have the best of times engaging against the Sisters of Slaughter, but they're trying to at least hold them in place. We've got the Rat Ogres pushing in as well, and the Rat Ogres, as always, beautiful charges, just tossing these Sisters of Slaughter back, getting a decent bit of damage in there, throwing them back. The physical resistance is, of course, helping the Sisters of Slaughter, but the charge bonus of the Rat Ogres at 50 or over 50, and they're frenzied as well, is going to do a fair bit of work. To the right over here, meanwhile, you're going to see some very interesting stuff as the Sisters of Slaughter get engaged by the Plague Monk Sensor Bearers. We have these Skaven Slaves pushing in to hold them in place as well, but take a look at these Plague Monk Sensor Bearers go to work, as back here we get a Gaze of Malice pushing through, trying to get rid of these Skaven Slave Slingers. But in just a moment's time, these Sisters of Slaughter already at nearly 50% health, and we also have this Doom Wheel pushing off to the right over there to provide some assistance and finish off that right flank as quickly as possible. Soul Blight, meanwhile, over here helping the Sisters of Slaughter take care of these Plague Monks as they've pushed in, and back here, unfortunately, these Plague Monk Sensor Bearers aren't doing anything. They need to push in alongside these rat ogres as well and try and come out on top on this left flank. But right now, those guys are just sitting there, not really doing anything. While in the center over here, you can see Lord Skrulk is getting involved. We get Stand Your Ground activated. Malekith over here as well, trying to get some work done. Rod of Corruption goes down on Malekith, hoping to cause a fair bit of damage. And the Sisters of Slaughter as well, not in an ideal situation, hit by Rod of Corruption as well, eating a lot of damage. And again, Lord Skrulk, magical damage is going to do a lot of work over here. Just look at those Sisters of Slaughter completely melt away. And let's get another look back here as the Doomwheel pushes right through and absolutely demolishes that Dark Elf right flank. These Sisters of Slaughter did not stand a chance. So much magical damage coming through. Those sisters give up on the fight, while over here you can see the Doomfire Warlocks have managed to push into the Skaven Slaves, actually being pinned in place, and the Plague Monk Censer Bear is still back here, not doing anything. The Rat Ogres neither, not pushing in, and while over here you can see Malekith again diving in, hoping to get some damage in there, pushing in towards Lord Skrulk, I think hoping to eliminate enemy leadership. In comes a Soul Stealer as well, trying to keep Malekith alive, while back here you can see we have these Skaven Slave Slingers pulling back into safety as the Warp Lightning Cannon still looking to fire away, not really able to shoot anywhere, as the Rat Ogres and the Plague Monks, once again over here you can see absolutely eliminating the Sisters of Slaughter thanks to the assistance from the Doomwheel, just rolling on through, terrifying, or rather I should say routing these Sisters of Slaughter, also routing these Sisters of Slaughter over here. Now, in response, we have the Doomfire Warlocks ringing in a Doom Bolt atop the Doomwheel. Not a bad call at all. If I say Doom one more time, I swear it's going to start sounding funny. But the Doom Bolt's going to come down on the Doomwheel and bring in a decent amount of Doom, actually, as it will cause a lot of damage. That Doomwheel is stationary, and take a look at that, down to about, or down by about 25%, and in comes Murderous Mastery and Murderous Prowess as well, as the Sisters of the Singing Doom close the gaps into these Skaven Slave Slingers, ultimately deciding to pull back, I think, while over here a Chill Wind goes down as well, allowing these Doomfire Warlocks to just push through and completely scare off all of these Skaven Slave Slingers. Meanwhile, over here you can see these Rat Ogres are trying to take care of these Dread Spears. Not an ideal situation at all. They need to pull back. We've got these Dread Spears pushing in as well, while up front over here, we actually have these Cold One Knights completely giving up on the fight despite their attempts at taking out these Rat Ogres up front. Meanwhile, these Sisters of Slaughter managing to just barely hold on to the fight over here. They do not have any magical damage to worry about, though we do have the Doomwheel pushing in with its anti-infantry armor-piercing capabilities, and if it gets some shots off like it just did, it is going to take care of those Sisters of Slaughter. Meanwhile, back here, we still have these Sisters of the Singing Doom pushing in, I think still chasing after some of these Skaven Slaves, while the Warp Lightning Cannon is actually firing away at the Doomfire Warlocks. Again, they're dangerous. They can hit you with Soul Blight. They've got the Doom Bolt as well, so it's a good idea to try and eliminate these guys after they've already kind of used up some of their abilities, and they've caused a fair number of damage as well, or caused a fair bit of damage, I should say, with 56 kills. Now these Skaven Slave Slingers as well, turning around, firing away at the Sisters of the Singing Doom, trying to ignore their physical resistance there and just kill them using sheer quantity, as was happening before. While up front in the middle here, again, you can see the Sisters of Slaughter giving up on the fight. That Doomwheel comes through, brings its magical ammunition, and just completely terrifies these ladies as well. While off in the distance, you can see a lot of these sisters are recovering, are rallying, willing to fight once more, as these Dark Riders with the repeater crossbows are firing away at the Rat Ogres over here and the Plague Monks over here, just trying to eliminate a unit that can be fairly threatening in those Rat Ogres. And let's be honest, the Plague Monks as well, in the right place, anti-infantry as they are, can cause a fair bit of trouble. A Chill Wind comes in as well, I think hoping to slow down some of these units as they try to get away, maybe allow Malekith to get away instead. The Liber Bubonicus, meanwhile, is active on Malekith. Great call over there. The Liber Bubonicus is a very powerful ability from Lord Skrulk. It's completely obliterating Malekith's health over here. He is dropping very quickly, and you can see the Doomwheel as well getting some work done, firing away some stray shots at the Sisters of Slaughter, reducing their health and reducing their will to fight. The right flank belongs to the Skaven. The left flank, however, belongs to these two Dread Spears, as all that's left over here are these rampaging Plague Monk Censer Bearers and some Skaven Slaves who really aren't going to do much anymore. Back here, you can see the Warp Lightning Cannon continues to fire away at the Doomfire Warlock over here, just trying to reduce that unit into nothing as it kind of swings around and tries to prevent those shots from coming through. And up front, you can see these Rat Ogres completely giving up on the fight as the Dread Spears push in as well, and these Plague Monks over here now pushing into these Sisters of Slaughter alongside Lord Skrulk. Again, that magical damage can do a lot of work and completely scare off this unit. The Slingers as well firing away into the backs of these Sisters of Slaughter, while up front over here you can see the Plague Monk Censer Bearers turn around and get their charges into the Sisters of Slaughter alongside the Plague Monk Censer Bearers. The Plague Monk Censer Bearers, of course, bringing in the magical damage, and the Sisters of Slaughter are going to be in a terrible situation as a result. Malekith, meanwhile, you can see as well in a terrible situation. That Liber Bubonicus does a lot of damage, and we actually have another unit of Clan Rats being brought to the field over here. These Plague Monks over here were actually summoned using Pestilent Birth, while over here these Clan Rats, of course, summoned as well, as you just saw, able to push in and provide some assistance. But you can see immediately we get some responses coming in from the Dark Elves as Soul Blight goes down, I think hoping to remove the Stormbrimmer with Sword and Shield from the field, as the Sisters of Slaughter dive in once more, hoping to cause some damage over here and eliminate these Skaven units one at a time. The Dark Elves are very much on the back foot, as back here you can see we've got the Doomfire Warlock as well, giving up on the fight, very close to the edge of the field, about to leave, as the Warp Lightning Cannon continues to maybe waste some shots back there. would be much better to turn around and even fire away at these clumped up dread spears, but you can see up front over here, in comes a chill wind again, just trying to drop the Stormbrimmer with sword and shield, and they do give up on the fight. They do decide to rout and pull back into safety, while Lord Skrolk is taking a very courageous stand over here, pushing forward, bringing in some more clan rats as well for some assistance, and you can see these dread spears immediately give up on the fight thanks to all of that Skaven slave slinger fire. These Sisters of Slaughter as well, very close to giving up on the fight. We have another Rod of Corruption going down as well, causing a fair bit of damage. Malekith in a tight spot as well, barely holding on to the fight over here, just has a little bit more health than Lord Skrolk, but you can see it is very quickly dropping. The Sisters of Slaughter giving up on the fight. We have, in response, these Plague Monk Censer Bearers as well, sort of diving in. Malekith is very close to giving up. We've got these shots coming in from the Warp Lightning Cannon as well, keeping all of these routing and now shattered units at bay, and a close victory for the Rats of Riggsen. This was a showcase of quantity over quality here, as the Rats of Riggsen were able to chip away at the Dark Elves slowly but surely over time throughout the battle, and then cause a tremendous amount of melting away types of damage as the magical damage units got involved. Now, the slaves performed their jobs brilliantly, holding the enemy in place, wasting their time on lowly slaves as slingers fired in, and the rest of the Skaven formation had time to orient themselves and attack. The magical ammunition and melee capabilities were brought to the field a little sparingly, but they were used excellently to thwart the largely physically resistant Dark Elf army. The Plague Monk Censer Bearers were top performers in melee, and despite fewer kills, the Warp Lightning Cannon and the Doom Wheel provided crucial support. And of course, let's not forget Lord Skrolk as well, with his abilities completely melting away at Malekith. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content and keep sending in those battle replays. I do think it's one of the best ways to learn, and it's always nice to see such amazing battles from the community. I'd also like to thank all of my patrons for showing support to the channel every month. It makes a massive difference, and it helps keep the channel alive. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.